Once upon a time, in a quiet village gently nestled among the rolling emerald hills, there lived a young man named Hero. This village was the very definition of serenity, a place untouched by the frantic pace of the outside world. The air was sweet with the scent of wildflowers and fresh earth, carried softly on the breeze that rustled through ancient trees. Each day here unfolded like a slow, comforting breath. Children's laughter echoed through golden fields. Elders gathered beneath the sprawling branches of old oaks to share stories woven from memories and wisdom, and the seasons painted the landscape in colors that changed like a living, breathing tapestry. Yet beneath this peaceful surface, Hero carried a storm inside. His outward calm was a delicate mask, hiding a restless mind that never ceased its ceaseless chatter. From the moment dawn's first light brushed the horizon until the stars blanketed the night sky, his thoughts raced like wild horses, tumbling over one another, dissecting every past mistake, worrying about every possible future, questioning every word he had ever spoken and every choice he had never dared to make. To the villagers, life was simple and clear, but to Hero, it was a labyrinth of tangled doubts and relentless overthinking. His mind was like an attic crowded with unfinished ideas, whispered fears lurking in shadowy corners, and questions with no answers. No matter how tranquil the village around him, the stillness he craved always slipped through his fingers, like water. The more he tried to quiet his thoughts, the louder they roared, a turbulent river impossible to dam with bare hands. Often, he would find himself staring into the distance, not yearning for wealth or glory, but for something far rarer, the profound silence of a mind at peace. Not the silence of the world, but the silence within. One late afternoon, as the sun hung low on the horizon and painted the sky in breathtaking shades of rose, gold, and soft lavender, Hero found himself resting at the edge of the village. The air was warm and carried the gentle hum of cicadas, while above, clouds drifted lazily across the vast blue canvas, their shapes shifting like silent whispers. Hero's thoughts floated as aimlessly as those clouds, swirling in a restless dance, until a voice pierced through the quiet. It was the voice of a traveling merchant, a weathered man, with eyes full of stories and a tone that carried the weight of many roads traveled. The merchant spoke of a legendary Zen master who lived far away, perched high atop a remote mountain, cloaked in mist and mystery, beyond the dense forests that no villager dared to cross, and past rivers that sang their own ancient songs. Few had ever reached that place, and fewer still returned unchanged. According to the merchant, this Zen master held a rare and precious gift, not merely teaching words, but the power to awaken a deep, transformative understanding within seekers. Those who climbed the mountain, burdened with fears, worries, and restless thoughts, often returned as if shedding invisible chains, carrying within them a calm so profound it seemed eternal, untouched by the storms of life. Hero listened, spellbound. The merchant's words stirred something deep inside him, a sudden sharp breeze cutting through the sweltering heat of a summer day, awakening a long-forgotten hope. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, a quiet yet fierce flame kindled within his restless heart. That night, beneath a sprawling sky thick with twinkling stars, Hero lay awake, the merchant's words echoing in his mind. The village around him was peaceful and familiar, but he knew his path lay elsewhere. He made a decision that would forever alter the course of his life. He would leave behind the only home he had ever known, brave the unknown, and embark on the journey toward that distant mountain, to find the Zen master, and perhaps to find the stillness he had long sought. Before dawn broke, Hero rose silently. He packed lightly, a simple satchel holding a loaf of bread, a flask of water, and a single blanket. He left no elaborate goodbyes, no loud farewells. Instead, with a steady gaze full of quiet determination and the weight of countless unspoken hopes, he stepped beyond the familiar boundaries of the village. Each step carried him farther from comfort and certainty, yet closer to a new possibility, a chance to discover peace, not just in the world around him, but within himself. With the soft light of morning guiding him, Hero's journey began. A path that promised transformation, challenge, and perhaps, at last, the silence his soul craved. Days stretched endlessly into nights as Hero pressed onward, his journey weaving through thick forests that whispered ancient secrets in the rustling of leaves. Towering trees stood sentinel along winding paths, their branches forming a canopy that filtered sunlight into dancing patches of gold and shadow. He forded crystal-clear rivers that sang softly as water kissed the stones, and crossed meadows where wildflowers bowed gently in the breeze. With every step, Hero felt the growing ache in his feet and the dull throb in his muscles, reminders of the relentless climb ahead. The mountain grew steeper, its slopes cloaked in mist and frost, the chill biting through his worn cloak. Rain soaked him to the bone, and the thin, crisp air at higher altitudes made each breath a fragile victory, shallow and precious. Yet, through fatigue and hardship, no hardship could sway his resolve. Within him, hope fluttered, fragile but unyielding, like a small flame resisting the wind. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of walking and yearning, Hero reached the summit. The world stretched out beneath him in vast, breathtaking panoramas, rolling hills, winding rivers, and forests that seemed to breathe beneath the horizon. But his eyes were drawn to a single, breathtaking sight, a majestic cherry blossom tree in full bloom. Its delicate pink petals fluttered down like soft whispers on the breeze, carpeting the ground with gentle color. Beneath the tree sat the Zen master, a figure embodying serene stillness. Though old, his presence was timeless, as if he had quietly watched the world turn for centuries. His eyes were closed, his posture perfectly still, radiating calm and wisdom. The air around him felt hushed, as if even the wind paused in reverence. Hero approached slowly, his heart pounding with a mixture of awe and hope. He knelt respectfully before the master and spoke in a quiet voice filled with vulnerability. "Master," he said, "I have journeyed far to find you. My mind is restless, overwhelmed by thoughts that never cease. I carry worries like heavy stones pressed deep in my chest. I long for peace, but I do not know how to find it. Please, teach me how to empty my mind." For a long moment, the master remained still. Then slowly, his eyes opened, revealing a gaze calm and deep, steady as a still mountain lake. A gentle smile curved his lips, warm and inviting. "Empty your mind, you say?" he replied softly. "Very well, Hero. I will teach you." Without a single word more, the Zen master rose with deliberate grace and beckoned Hero to follow him. They moved silently through a garden, unlike any Hero had ever seen. A place where every stone, every petal, and every blade of grass seemed arranged with exquisite care and intention. The air was thick with the rich scent of damp earth and blooming flowers, a fragrant tapestry that wrapped around them like a quiet sanctuary, untouched by the bustle of the world. The garden felt timeless, as if it existed between moments, suspended in perfect harmony. Birds perched silently on branches, their songs hushed in respect. while a gentle breeze stirred the leaves with a soothing murmur. Here, peace was not just felt, it was breathed. At the very heart of this sanctuary stood a large stone basin, ancient and worn smooth by time. It was filled to the brim with still, clear water, so perfectly calm that it reflected the sky above like a flawless mirror, capturing every cloud and the pale blue stretch of heavens. Beside the basin lay a small wooden bowl, humble and empty, its surface worn and waiting. The master picked up a simple wooden ladle, its handle worn from use, and dipped it gently into the basin. He lifted the ladle slowly, then poured the water with care into the smaller bowl, each drop deliberate, precise, a quiet act of reverence. Then, turning to Hero, the master's voice was calm, yet carried a weight of certainty. "Now, Hero," he said softly but firmly, "your task is simple, yet it holds a profound truth. You must empty this basin by transferring all its water into this small bowl. But you must take great care. Not a single drop may be spilled." Hero's gaze flickered between the vast basin, overflowing with water, and the tiny bowl, barely larger than his hands. A flicker of disbelief crossed his face. The task seemed impossible, absurd even, as if he were being asked to capture the ocean in a single cup. But beneath the disbelief, a spark of curiosity and determination flickered to life. With a steadying breath and a solemn nod, Hero accepted the challenge, his heart beating with a mix of hope and uncertainty. The test had begun, not just of skill, but of patience, presence, and perhaps something deeper still. Hero began with the utmost care, his hands trembling slightly as he lifted the wooden ladle from the basin. He tried to steady his breath, to slow his racing thoughts, and to move with a calm, deliberate precision. Each scoop was slow and measured, every drop precious as he carefully poured water into the smaller bowl. For a brief moment, hope flickered. The bowl began to fill, but almost as soon as it began, the bowl reached its limit. With a quiet, resigned sigh, Hero poured the water back into the basin and began again. Scoop after scoop, hour after hour, the ritual repeated itself. His arms grew heavy, muscles aching as fatigue settled deep into his bones. The sun arced across the sky, shadows lengthened, and still the basin remained as full as ever, an unyielding, silent testament to his struggle. Frustration gnawed at him like a persistent, sharp-edged thorn. It spilled over, infecting his thoughts like a rushing river bursting its banks. The steady rhythm of his breath faltered. Doubts surged forward, battering his resolve relentlessly. Why can't I do this right? The question echoed in his mind. Am I failing? The fear crept deeper, tightening its grip. What if I'm simply incapable? The harshest thought of all, piercing and heavy. Anger flared suddenly, a fierce flame fueled by his exhaustion and confusion. His mind clouded, swirling with doubt and despair. The harder he tried to control the water, the more impossible the task seemed. The peaceful silence he had longed for now felt like a distant, mocking echo, just beyond his grasp. His mental turmoil mirrored the physical challenge before him. Both were tangled and relentless, a storm he could neither calm nor outrun. The garden around him, once a sanctuary of quiet, now seemed heavy with the weight of his struggle. Hero's heart ached not just from the effort, but from the growing awareness that perhaps this was more than a test of patience. It was a mirror, reflecting his restless mind, his fears, and the very chaos he had hoped to escape. The Zen master remained quiet and still, his eyes gently observing Hero's relentless efforts with a patient, knowing gaze. There was no judgment in his silence, only a deep understanding. an ancient wisdom that saw beyond the surface struggle to the restless heart beneath. After some time, the master finally moved. His steps were slow and deliberate, as if each one was a meditation in motion. When he reached Hiro, he placed a warm, steady hand on the young man's weary shoulder, offering a quiet comfort amid the storm of frustration. "My dear student," the master spoke softly, his voice calm, yet powerful like a gentle river carving stone. "You pour your strength into emptying the basin, yet you overlook the most vital truth of this task." Hiro lifted his tired eyes, heavy with exhaustion and shadowed by doubt, and looked into the master's serene face. The tranquility there was so profound, it almost seemed to glow, an unshakable calm that Hiro desperately longed to hold within himself. "To empty the basin," the master continued, "you must first empty your mind." The simplicity of those words struck Hiro like a sudden stillness in the midst of chaos, a quiet revelation that rippled through his very being. He realized then that this lesson was not about the physical act of moving water, but about the inner battle he fought every moment. The battle to let go, to release control, to find peace, not in doing, but in simply being. Hiro's breath slowed as the truth settled into his heart. The basin before him was not just a vessel of water. It was a mirror, reflecting his own cluttered mind. And just as the water would never empty if he clung too tightly or strained too hard, so too would his mind remain restless if he refused to let go. Hiro blinked slowly, his brow furrowing with confusion and a trace of desperation. "Master," he murmured, his voice tinged with frustration, "how do I empty my mind? My thoughts never cease. They cling to me like shadows, dark, restless shadows that follow my every step, whispering doubts and fears I cannot shake." The Zen master smiled, a gentle, knowing smile that seemed to carry the weight of centuries. His eyes, calm as still lakes reflecting the sky, held a patience as deep and unyielding as the mountains surrounding them. He spoke with the quiet certainty of one who has walked this path long before. "Let go," he said simply, his voice a soft invitation rather than a command. "Let go of your worries, your fears, and your desperate need to succeed. Release the heavy burdens you carry, the mistakes etched in your memory, the regrets that weigh like stones on your heart. Stop reaching out with anxious hands toward a future that has not yet come." He paused, allowing his words to settle like gentle rain on thirsty earth, then continued. "Return to this moment, fully, completely. Do not struggle against your thoughts. Do not try to force them away or silence them. Instead, watch them. See them come and go like clouds drifting lazily across a vast open sky. They are there, yes, but they need not define you." The master's voice grew softer still, inviting peace to seep into Hiro's restless heart. "Be here now. No more, no less. Just scoop, just pour." The simplicity of the instruction felt like a key turning quietly in a lock, a pathway opening toward a place Hiro had long yearned for, but never knew how to reach. Hiro took a deep, cleansing breath, letting the air fill his lungs, and then slowly release all the tension that had built within his body. He felt the tightness in his shoulders soften, the clenched muscles in his arms unwind, and a subtle warmth spread through his chest, a quiet unburdening of the weight he had carried for so long. Closing his eyes for a moment, he allowed himself to simply be, to surrender fully to this present moment without resistance or expectation. When he opened his eyes again, the world seemed sharper yet softer all at once. The harsh edges of his frustration had smoothed, replaced by a gentle clarity. He reached out for the wooden ladle again, this time with movements that were unhurried and tender. Each motion was infused with a newfound mindfulness, an awareness that stretched beyond the simple task at hand and touched the very core of his being. As he dipped the ladle into the still basin, Hiro noticed the delicate shimmer of sunlight dancing on the water's surface, the coolness of the liquid as it flowed effortlessly into the wooden scoop. The handle beneath his fingers was smooth and comforting, grounding him with its natural texture. He lifted the ladle slowly, feeling the subtle weight of the water shifting gently, neither too heavy nor too light, perfectly balanced in his hands. The sound of water pouring from the ladle into the small bowl became a soft, rhythmic melody, a soothing whisper that echoed through the quiet garden. It was a sound that seemed to harmonize with the gentle rustling of cherry blossom petals overhead and the distant call of birds settling for the evening. Time itself appeared to slow, the minutes stretching and folding in on themselves like the petals of a blooming flower. Inside Hiro's mind, the chaos that once roared like a tempest began to calm, transforming into the still surface of a tranquil lake at dawn. The endless stream of worries, doubts, and fears faded into the background, becoming like clouds drifting slowly across a vast open sky, present but ungrasped, passing without disturbance. With each deliberate scoop and careful pour, the task grew lighter, less a struggle, and more a flowing dance between himself and the water. What had once felt like an insurmountable challenge now unfolded naturally and effortlessly, as if guided by a silent rhythm beyond words. The basin gradually emptied, not through force or frantic effort, but through the gentle power of presence and surrender. In that sacred moment, Hiro understood a profound truth. Peace is not a prize to be won, nor a destination to be reached. It is a way of being, a harmony with the flow of life that arises when one ceases to resist and instead embraces the moment fully, with openness and grace. At last, Hiro poured the final drop of water into the small wooden bowl. For a long moment, he stood motionless, feeling a profound stillness settle like a gentle tide within him, deeper and more expansive than any silence he had ever experienced before. This stillness was not the absence of sound or thought, but a quiet fullness, a peaceful presence that resonated through every cell of his being. He turned slowly to meet the gaze of the Zen master. His eyes shone with a new kind of light, a radiant blend of awe, relief, and newfound clarity. The restless turmoil that had lived within him for so long had softened, replaced by a steady calmness that reached far beyond the simple task he had just completed. The master's gaze held a timeless kindness as he spoke, his voice steady and gentle, carrying the weight of many years of wisdom. "Hiro," he said, "when you empty your mind, you stop resisting the flow of life. You cease trying to shape it, control it, or make it into what you wish it to be. You let go of the struggle to force things to fit your desires or fears. Instead, you become one with the moment you are in, fully present, fully aware. And in that union, life begins to flow with effortless grace." The words hung in the air, like the delicate fragrance of cherry blossoms on a spring breeze, weaving themselves into Hiro's heart and mind. In that instant, a profound understanding blossomed. Peace was not a distant prize or a secret to uncover, but a natural state born from surrender, acceptance, and presence. Hiro remained standing beneath the cherry blossom tree, surrounded by the garden's vibrant tapestry of colors and sounds. The petals shimmered softly in the sunlight, floating gently to the ground like whispered blessings. Birds called softly from the branches above, their songs weaving a peaceful melody through the warm air. The scent of earth Flowers and fresh rain filled the space, grounding Hero in the vivid reality of this moment. Inside him, a deep calm began to spread like the roots of a great tree, steady and unshakable. For the very first time, his mind was not a tangled web of restless thoughts or worries. Instead, it felt spacious, open, and alive, like a wide sky after a storm, clear and infinite. From that day forward, Hero carried the Master's teaching not as a rigid set of instructions, but as a living, breathing way of life. It became a quiet rhythm that guided his every step and breath. He learned that stillness was not a place to reach or an achievement to earn, but a sanctuary always present within, waiting to be returned to again and again. When Hero finally returned to his village, he was no longer the same restless young man who had left. He was transformed, calm yet vibrant, grounded yet free. His gaze held a gentle serenity, and his steps carried the weightless grace of someone who had discovered a deeper truth. And whenever the old storm of swirling thoughts and anxieties rose within him, Hero no longer feared the tempest. Instead, he would pause, breathe deeply, and gently guide himself back to the present moment. He would listen to the breath, feel the earth beneath his feet, and simply be. In that sacred space, the here and now, Hero found his peace. It was always there, just beneath the surface, a quiet wellspring within himself, ready to welcome him home, whenever he was willing to return.